Daily Pink Slip.
From murder to sexual abuse, we're disgusted by the 8 most horrific babysitters of all time. Number 8, Meixsell Heale. This 46-year-old woman operated a babysitting service out of her home. While caring for a 14-month-old baby, it was found that Heale shook the child violently, causing spinal and head injuries. This resulted in the tragic death of the small child. Despite all the evidence, Heale claimed that the baby was simply choking on applesauce and that she was trying to help him. She claimed innocence up until the very end. In court, Heale stated, "I do not regret the choices I made that day. There is nothing that I would change." Yeah, well, your face says otherwise. She was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Should have been more. Number 7, Dea and Eric Millerberg. This husband and wife duo hired a babysitter to take care of their child, but then things got weird. They regularly offered drugs and alcohol to Alexis Rosmanson. Eric Millerberg injected the 16-year-old girl with methamphetamine and heroin, and then he and his wife had sex with the impaired minor. That night, the babysitter died of an overdose, and this twisted couple decided to hide the body, which was later recovered. Dea Millerberg testified against her husband, which allowed the court to deliver a 6 years to life sentence. But anyway, yeah, what did you expect? This guy has one of those single tear tattoos. Number 6, Jennifer Mahoney. This 32-year-old waitress is a living piece of shit. She was caught recording the sexual abuse of a 5-year-old girl that she was babysitting. She broadcasted some of these live on Skype, presumably for paying customers. The videos were all presented as evidence in court and featured Mahoney performing oral sex on the young girl. She was also heard laughing in the video as well. This crap sack was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison, and honestly, even that seems to be too light of a sentence. Number 5, Jeanette Janusiak. This 27-year-old babysitter was caring for her best friend's 4-month-old daughter. The infant was found dead with multiple skull fractures. The baby was most likely beaten to death. Blood was found spattered on the wall, on the sheets, and there were bloody tissues and Q-tips found hidden around the house. Janusiak attempted to clean up the child in an attempt to hide what she had done. The defendant maintained her innocence throughout the trial, but was ultimately sentenced to 40 years in prison for this disgusting act. Number 4, Goodis. This 33-year-old babysitter created a literal house of horrors for the children she cared for. With one client's kids, she showed them horror films. She also hit them and even sexually assaulted the 4.5-year-old girl. Goodis was fired, but it wasn't until 10 months later that the abuse was found out. The daughter was told by the babysitter that if she ever spoke a word about what happened, she would come back and hurt her. Well, the daughter spoke up, and now it's Goodis that's hurting. She was sentenced to 18 months in prison and must register as a sex offender so everyone knows she's an awful, awful human being. Number 3, Elzbieta Plackowska. This 43-year-old woman, as of July 2016, is still awaiting trial and sentencing. She murdered both her 7-year-old son and a 5-year-old girl she was babysitting. Both children were found stabbed to death with more than 150 stab wounds collectively. Plackowska initially said an intruder broke in and killed the children. She then claimed that she heard demonic voices, and she attempted to save the children by driving the evil out of them. Hopefully somebody drives the evil out of this woman into solitary confinement for the rest of her life. Number 2, Justin Jefferson. This 24-year-old babysitter was hired on the website care.com by multiple families. He pled guilty to sexually assaulting a preteen boy in 2011, but avoided prison time. Then another victim came forward from 2 years earlier, and that made the case that much stronger against him. His sentence for being a human waste of space is 10 years to life. Number 1, Tiffany VanAlstyne. This 20-year-old woman was in charge of watching her 5-year-old cousin. She was trying to teach him using flashcards and became a little frustrated when he gave the wrong answers. Tiffany claimed she blacked out and awoke with her hands around the child's neck, who was now unresponsive. She took him outside where she tossed him over a guardrail into a drainage ditch and covered him with snow. When the authorities questioned VanAlstyne, she made up a story about how he was kidnapped. Then they found the body. Turns out she wasn't taking her medication for mental illness. Great. The judge sentenced her to 18 years to life in state prison for the murder. Hey guys, thanks for watching. We put up brand new videos every week, so hit that subscribe button and you won't miss a single one. And remember, if you watched this video at work and you still have a job, then you just dodged the Daily Pink Slip.